Hello, family and friends. This is Ralph Robinson coming at you again with a short chapter in my book, Back in the Day, Volume 1. And the title of this chapter is Three Hustles. Beginning in our early adolescent years, me and the boys were conditioned to be creative and look for entrepreneurial opportunities to earn cash. I had three what we called hustles. That's a slang for an informal job that helped me keep some pocket change on the regular. They consisted of carrying groceries, shining shoes, and setting up pins at the local bowling alley. So hustle number one was at ShopRite Food Market. This was directly across the street from our housing project. The baggage carrying operation was far from an organized, equitable distribution of labor. It was political and competitive. The smart dudes would approach customers before they entered the store and ask if they would be needing assistance with their bags upon leaving the store when they finished shopping. I had an advantage in that most of the women I assisted knew who I was because of my mother and father, who were quite popular in the neighborhood. It also helped that my father was a Boy Scout master and well respected by the community. So carrying bags was lucrative. Our tips usually varied between 25 cents and $1, depending upon the number of bags. ShopRite would not allow us to use their shopping carts to transport the groceries off their premises, so the most we would try to carry was 2 bags at a time. One day, Jojo and I went to another nearby food market and stole 2 of their shopping carts. We began using these carts to haul groceries back at ShopRite, and the management there had no qualms because the carts didn't belong to their store. But after a few weeks, employees from the other market found out we were using their carts and they came to confiscate them. But by that time, Jojo and I had made enough cash to buy our own 2-wheeled cart from the hardware store, and our business continued to flourish. Some of the older boys were pretty crafty, and they would often talk us into gambling with our tip money. We were coerced into playing a game called Pitching Pennies. Some of you may be familiar with that. The game was played by pitching a coin about 4 feet in front of you towards the wall. The one who tossed their coin closest to the wall would win, and the winner was always allowed to pick up and confiscate the other coins on the ground that came up short. Although the game was called Pitching Pennies, we sometimes pitched nickels, dimes, and occasionally quarters for the high risk takers. Truthfully, I love playing this game, but rarely would I pitch more than pennies or nickels. Some of you may recall back in the day during the 50s and 60s when the supply and demand for penny candy was booming. And in some stores, 5 pennies would even get you a whole box of candy. Some of those candies are still sold by the box, like Juicy Fruits, Good and Plenty's, chocolate-covered raisins, bitter honeys, and my favorite, Mike and Ike's. However, nowadays you would be lucky to find a box for less than $1. How do I know this? Could it be I'm still under their spell and have to have a box now or later? Hustle number 2 was a shoe shining job. So shoe shining was a fine art. My dad bought me a nice wooden box with all the right brushes, polishers, and rags, and I charged 25 cents per shine and would often take my box with me to downtown Newark and park outside of the Lowe's movie theater. Downtown was only a few blocks from our housing project. I'll never forget the time a local politician dressed in an Uncle Sam getup with the top hat and all gave me a shoe shining demonstration. He was accompanied by campaign workers and reporters and a camera crew from the local press. They were all leaving a function at the large hall next to the movie theater and headed towards their fleet of vehicles. When the politician saw me, he came over and asked for a shine. Partway through the shine, he took the shoe brush out of my hand and appeared to be demonstrating his version of the proper way to shine a shoe. His method was no different really from the way my dad taught me. However, he did make one suggestion that was worthwhile. He suggested that I use cardboard drink coasters and slide them between the shoe and sock so as to keep from getting polish on the customer's socks. The only problem was that drink coasters of the kind he talked about could only be obtained from a bar room. Little boys were not allowed in bar rooms. Fortunately, or unfortunately, depending upon how you look at it, my dad was a frequent barroom attendee. So I would occasionally ask him to slip a couple of coasters in his pocket and bring them home to me. Not that he ever needed to have an excuse to go drinking, but I do remember him telling Mom that he was going to the bar to get Ralphie some coasters. I'm pretty sure his subconscious processing went something like this. And by the way, I think I'll have a few. The politician, he gave me $1 for a 25-cent shine. I'm sure he was just showing off for the bystanders and the camera audience. It's not often a citizen gets their palm greased by a politician. It's usually the other way around. So finally, hustle number 3, setting up pins at the bowling alley. This involves sitting on a platform above the alley, directly behind the pins. And as the bowlers rolled their balls and the first batch of pins went down, we would pick up the ball and send it down the return ramp. Then we'd pick up the down pins and toss them in the pin bin. This was a dangerous job. Stories have been told about how some kids were injured by the pins flying up at them. When my father was a child, he set up pins in the same bowling alley. In fact, he was once injured in the leg, which left a noticeable scar. One night, while he had been drinking heavily, I asked him, "Dad, how did that scar get on your leg?" He told me it was from a gunshot wound he received during the Korean War. Excuse me. Now, I remember this story being one of many that caused me to be awestruck with Dad's bravery and courage. Oftentimes, when he would talk about war, I felt like I was in the presence of a larger-than-life superhero. It wasn't until much later in my adult life that Mom told me how he really got the scar. However, it never tainted my adoration for him. There were so many other great stories that in my mind were never disproved, discounted, or embellished. And I believed him wholeheartedly. My father was great at telling war stories. He once told a story about when he was in his foxhole. He said a North Korean soldier came charging at me, and when I tried to shoot him, my gun jammed. The soldier was right on top of me, but I managed to stab him in the gut with my bayonet, and that did the trick. He was history. Dad had an innate ability to captivate his audience with his command voice and genuinely persuasive disposition. He made up songs too. For example, he would take a song that he learned in the war, change the lyrics, and superimpose them to the same melody so that the song was more relative and fun for his Boy Scout troop. Once, while we were at Camp Mohegan for the weekend, he came up with this one. Hail to Camp Mohegan, hail the orange and black, troop to our motto, true to those who never will be coming back. So on to greater scouting, follow the Eagle Trail. true to our motto, our camper's song. Mohican, Mohegan, Mohegan, Hail Mohegan. And then during the march home, he made this one up. 2 more hours and we'll be there, honey, honey. 2 more hours and we'll be there, babe, babe. 2 more hours and we'll be there talking on the telephone. Honey, oh baby mine. Go to your left, your right, your left. Go to your left, your right, your left. 2 more hours and we'll be there, honey, honey. 2 more hours and we'll be there, babe, babe. 2 more hours and we'll be there washing out our underwear. Honey, oh baby mine. Go to your left, your right, your left. Go to your left, your right, your left. My dad. Here's a picture of him when he just joined the Army. He was 18 years old and they sent him to North Korea. Anyway, that's just one chapter. You can purchase the book on Amazon or on the campus bookstore. Thank you.